All right, the left is once again prioritizing illegal immigrants over the rights of Americans. An online petition urging Governor Ron DeSantis and Florida officials to show leniency towards the illegal who killed 3 people while driving a tractor trailer in Florida earlier this month has received nearly 3 million signatures. I don't know who these people are. Now, the petition demands and defends the illegal, requesting, quote, proportionate and reasonable sentence if convicted, as it was a tragic accident, not a deliberative act. And as Florida Democrat Debbie Wasserman Schultz went on fake news CNN, she's claiming that Trump DeSantis' efforts to combat illegal immigration is a, quote, war on people of color. Okay, take a look.
All the MAGA Republicans and Ron DeSantis care about is the abuse of human rights, because, I mean, they have declared war on people of color, whether it's in education, the erasure of their history, with the efforts to whitewash the history of in the Smithsonian museums, rounding up people with masked ICE detention center employees and kidnapping them, not giving them access to counsel.
All right, here to respond, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is with us. My understanding is they gave this driver a test, apparently had a hard time speaking English and did not understand road signs. He came into this country illegally through the sanctuary state of California. He got a commercial driver's license in California and in Washington state. Here he is in the state of Florida. 3 people are dead that I would argue otherwise would likely be very alive today.
He intentionally got behind the wheel of that big rig knowing that he did not understand what was going on around him. He could not read adequately the road signs. He obviously couldn't converse in English, which you need to be able to operate one of those things. And he attempted an absolute insane maneuver on the road. So he made those decisions, and those decisions resulted in the death of 3 people, and he will be held accountable. And yes, I blame him for that. I also blame the company, which the Trump administration, I think, very admirably revoked the business license. And yes, I do blame the sanctuary state of California. So there's a lot of blame to go around, but that driver made the decision to behave in a reckless fashion and to put other people at risk. And in Florida, there's consequences for that.
You know, where are these 3 million people coming from? I know a lot of people in Florida. I don't know one person that has sympathy for anybody other than the victims and their families.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, this could be bots, who knows? But the reality is, I think there is a certain segment of the population throughout the country, just because President Trump is strong on borders and wants to make sure that we have a legal workforce and we don't have millions and millions of illegal aliens, then they have to take the opposite position. So you have a lot of these people, and you showed Debbie Wasserman Schultz, she's for open borders. She does not want any enforcement of immigration law. And she says if you just simply remove illegal aliens who've already been ordered to be removed through our system, that's somehow a human rights violation. So these folks are telling us who they are, and they are people that do not put the American people first.
All right. Your friend Gavin Newsom, by the way, is continuing his pathetic attempt to troll Trump, basically playing Trump on X, the failure of a governor, still mocking Trump's social media style, and on a podcast every chance he gets. He now launched his own Patriot Shop online full of Trump-style merchandise. The red hat doesn't look as good with Newsom's name on it, does it? Anyway, now this all comes as Newsom is moving full steam ahead with his redistricting plan. Donald Trump now threatening to take legal action. Take a look.
Mr. President, Gavin Newsom, you mentioned Gavin Newsom on crime.
Gavin Newsom, yes.
Is there a federal mechanism you're hoping to use to fight back against his redistricting constitutional amendment, or is that
Well, I think I'm going to be filing a lawsuit pretty soon, and I think we're going to be very successful in it. We're going to be filing it through the Department of Justice. That's going to happen.
And by the way, the law will be on President Trump's side if you look at California law, as we have explained. Now, California has the highest income taxes in the country, highest sales taxes in the country, the highest gas taxes in the country, some of the worst schools in the country, homelessness, open-air drug dens pretty much everywhere, all throughout California, people leaving the state in droves. Oh, and the people in the Pacific Palisades, some 13,000, those that ended up with empty fire hydrants, empty reservoirs when the predictable wildfires, because they don't practice the science of forestry, and of course Santa Ana winds, also predictable, had their homes burned to the ground. They can't get permits 8 months later to rebuild. Gavin's too busy doing a podcast or social media act to even give a damn. I think maybe it's time for Gavin Newsom.
I think that, yeah, look. Well, here's the thing. We have talked about Florida being number one on so many categories: economy, new business, higher education. And he says California's number one. But Sean, to be bipartisan, I do have to acknowledge under Gavin Newsom's leadership, California, they are number one in a lot of things. They're number one in homelessness. They're number one in public defecation. They're number one in tent cities on sidewalks and in public places. Yes, they're number one for highest income tax in the country. They're number one for highest sales tax, number one for highest gas tax, and they have the highest electricity rates in the continental United States. So they are number one in a lot of things, just not the things you'd want to be number one in.
Listen, he doesn't want to solve those problems. If he could take a little time away from podcasting, a little time away from pretending to be Donald Trump, because he's not spending any time solving problems in California, I say it's time for Ron DeSantis, Gavin Newsom 2.0. We'll have the same rules as last time, so I don't have to spend endless days and months of my life negotiating with this very strict team. Would that be fair? Are you up for it?
Oh, of course it'd be fair. It'd be fun. I know he's not going to do that. I think he has settled in to this being a troller of President Trump. It seems to get him some notoriety with kind of their far left base. But I will tell you, the average American watching this, they look at it the way you and I do. Wait a minute. You've got problems in your state of homelessness. People can't rebuild, crushing taxes and regulations. Why don't you focus on fixing those rather than trying to be cheeky with the President of the United States?
Gavin, lower taxes, eliminate crime, maybe get some water into fire hydrants in areas that are known for wildfires, maybe fill your reservoirs with water in case there's a wildfire in Santa Ana and winds. Governor, good to see you. Appreciate it. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.